Hi. I got a slide whistle. Let me be completely upfront with you on how I make these videos. I make these videos with that camera, with me, with this computer, which I write stuff on, and with this microphone occasionally, which I should use more. The amount of production that goes into my videos is very, very small. This camera is a home camera, a home video camera that my parents bought so we could film vacations and stuff like that.
Go.
So you're recording?
I think.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh! That wasn't as deep as I thought it was.
No.
And I just got it handed down to me. That's really it. I have a better camera that I got for my birthday, but I don't have a battery for it, so I'm still using this one. But I don't really mind it. I think that it adds charm to a video, which is what we're talking about today. By the way, I'm going to be looking at my computer a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be looking at my computer probably more than I'm looking at you, but that's because I can't memorize a whole essay. I'm not that good at things. I'd like to stress before I continue with the video that anyone can make anything they want. That's the beauty of creation. The views in this video are mine and mine alone. I just want to speak my mind because I care about this. Please don't consider me an artistic elitist because of this. Please enjoy the video. If you were like me when you were a kid, there was a very specific genre of thing that you would look forward to watching whenever you had access to the interweb. And that content was independent sketch comedy, or just independent content on the internet, like Tomska, Jack and Dean, Man with 10 Toes, Mike Diva, Corridor Digital, Smosh. I could continue, trust me, I will later. But these forms of independent sketch comedy has been overshadowed in recent years, and thus we haven't seen the guys, gals, and everyone in between who have been keeping this style of content alive as much as we probably should be. So in this video, since I feel kind of passionately about it, I thought I'd cover this topic because apparently I don't know what else to do with my time. I think that independent content creation has lost its spirit that it used to harness better than any kind of creative expression ever could. And now we as consumers are appreciating concept way less than production, which is backwards. And I think that that's a mistake, because by extension it feels as though creators are valuing money and retention more than the enjoyment and beauty of creation. But before we get into that, I'd say it's fair to assume that you like the style of content that we're about to get into and the charm that low production brings. And if that's the case, you should subscribe. I make that shit, so stick around. Anywho, back into it. Act 1. The place where anyone can make anything. As you probably know, from 2006 to somewhere around 2016, 2017-ish, we had a solid 10 years or so of the type of content I'm referring to in this video, with people like Jack and Dean making sketches like Dress Sense.
This is for when it's hot. This is for when it's cold. For when I'm doing laundry.
Ghosts Aren't Red.
What are you supposed to be? Can't you tell? Racist? No, obviously not. I'm a ghost.
And Toilet Man.
You never know. It's fine. I thought I saw him. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
Tomska making things like I Don't Know.
6.
That ain't even how you play poker.
Shut up, Crystal. You don't even have to breathe.
Well, don't tell everyone. Wow.
Needles, one of my personal favorites.
Where am I going to go get this? This room is filled with needles.
And Meanwhile, which is definitely one of my personal favorites.
Meanwhile, in a parallel universe where people occasionally mistake their hand for a bear. Oh, it's a bear! It's a bear!
Julian Smith with Eat Randy.
Randy is a 3-course meal plus dessert to seal the deal. Oh, and I'll be needing a to-go box. I'd rather eat.
What Happened to Chris?
Do you want the long version or the short version?
I want you to tell me what happened to Chris.
Okay. Chris is dead now.
And Mr. Tim.
That's not some candy, that's a flathead.
Takes one to know one.
And various other people. Basically anyone who felt like doing it, making tons of videos, like Man with 10 Toes and Cicierega.
I got Dunkin' Donuts for you.
Excellent.
All of these people are still active now, but in the past, like in the 2006 to 2016 range, that was the golden age of this kind of style of content. In this time of emerging creators, there was basically nothing in terms of production, just the creator, the friends who were willing to participate, a camera, and the idea. This means that anyone, literally anyone, would be able to create and gain a following doing something they enjoyed doing, while sharing stuff that they loved making with the world. This is the beautiful time of the internet, where a silly jingle about all the good guys and bad guys fighting to death with an admittedly bad animation, sorry Neil, can grow to be one of the most well-known and revered creations of all time, where someone can make a song about wanting to eat his friend or a sketch about parallel universes, and they can grow infinitesimally. I don't know if that's the word that really describes what I'm trying to say. They're really good, and they were really appreciated in their time, and that is sad that that's not how it is nowadays, because like all things, this golden age must pass. Act 2. All in the name of progress. Somewhere around 2016 to 2017, 2018-ish, I don't really fully know, I didn't pinpoint it down. I didn't do much research for this video, I just have a lot of feelings about this topic, and so I'm talking about it. I don't do research. Don't listen to anything I say. I'm just talking about what I have on my mind. But somewhere around 2016, 2017, production skyrocketed in internet content, with people like Tomska's content getting a noticeable uptick in production quality, with things like Time Trouble, which is a great video, you should watch it, it's really good. As well as creators like Jack and Dean getting other outside opportunities, like Jack and Dean of All Trades. Now clearly, with situations like the last two, this production uptick wasn't a bad thing in the slightest. It gave people who cared about what they made opportunities to expand their creative ranges and possibilities, allowing them to create whatever came to mind with all of the things that they needed to make it at their disposal, with the amount of production that they had. And clearly this content was still on par with the earlier mentioned content. Wizzo the Wizard has to be one of my favorite Tomska sketches, and Jack and Dean of All Trades is an amazing show. I very much recommend it, it's great. But in this production uptick, two unwanted cons were created, which in no fault by the creators. I completely understand where they're coming from. There's no fault or blame that goes towards Tomska or Jack and Dean or anyone that just rode that production uptick, you know? I completely respect that. I think it's admirable, and like obviously that's like the next step in someone's career, right? You don't want to stay down here with the production all the time, right? I mean, personally, that's kind of all I've been stuck doing, but whatever. But the first con is that this uptake happened around the same times that people's eyes were more on the internet creators as a viable career path, with people like PewDiePie and Markiplier making genuine livings off it. And these two things happening at the same time created a correlation. Obviously, correlation does not equal causation, but in the brains of people, that just, they're kind of like connected, you know? That correlation being, people saw the key to success on the internet being great production and not necessarily great concept or passion. Once again, not the fault of any of the creators talked about. Any of them, except for the ones that are about to come up. Don't worry about that. This is where we see more and more production-heavy yet soulless content emerge on the platform. This is where corporations and more like cable news networks started invading YouTube and trying to just fuck everything up, basically. But obviously it's not just corporations doing this, because there were independent creators doing this as well, and we'll get into that as well. But first, the secondary con in this instance was the creation of a large disparity between the successful creators and those that are just starting out. Due to the previously mentioned correlation, new creators were at a new severe disadvantage, because they couldn't afford big production unless they already had success in another field, like being a celebrity already or winning the genetic lottery. This is where we see a lot of people who were just rich come onto YouTube and start with their YouTube careers, which was easier for them because they already were able to do bigger productions because they were able to hire people to be the videographers and the boomstick guy, you know? Meanwhile, people who are just trying to make the content that would be popping off in like 2007, now it's not really viable in a way, you know? You kind of have to come into it with a bit of pizzazz, or else it's not really going to get noticed all that much unless you make something really relatable, you know? Just kicks them in the pants, you know? This focus on production over concept, predictably, shot passionate and independent creation in the foot, as the sketches associated with those channels take much longer to make and put together than, let's say, a challenge video or a reaction video. So this led to the channels who were able to create higher produced content at a faster rate taking over and leaving the passion-filled sketch channels in the dust. This is where Mr. Beast, I have nothing against the guy. Don't kill me, okay? Jimmy seems like a wonderful person, and I don't have anything against him. That's not my style of content. I'm talking about the styles of content, not the people who make them. I want to stress that very much. Go back and listen to the disclaimer at the beginning of this video if you don't really believe me. But this is where that style of content really just skyrocketed, right? And it just surpassed all of them, and it left Tomska and all them in the dust. Go look at Tomska's channel right now. Do it. Don't click off of this. Make a new tab. Go look at Tomska's channel right now. The Blame Game is a very good sketch, on par with a large amount of his previous ones. But it's nowhere near the amount of success that he had in, let's say, 2006 to 2016, for example. Get the picture? Along with the public's opinion on what was more successful on YouTube changing to production and retention over concept and passion, the platform seemed to change in favor of these styles of videos heavily when it comes to recommending to people, ad revenue, and just generally doing well on the platform. In fact, to close out this act, I think I'll let industry veterans Guaranteed Video sum this change up perfectly in their announcement video about how they were starting a Patreon.
For over a decade, we've been making videos together and uploading them to a website called YouTube.com.
People like to watch them, and we still like making them when we can.
But the landscape of YouTube has changed a lot since we started.
Comedy skits just aren't the soup du jour on YouTube anymore.
Act 3. Where does that leave? Where are we now? Now, where does this massive shakeup, where does this massive change in the landscape leave independent sketch comics now? Well, as one may have guessed by how I've been leading up to this, they've been largely swept under the rug, which I find to be a damn shame. Call me artsy all you want. I enjoyed Inside 2023 with Willem Dafoe. I'm a very artsy-fartsy kind of guy. With channels like Wizards with Guns, Man Carrying Thing, JC Foster, Brian David Gilbert, Joel Haver, Sadworld, Value Select, etc. Told you I could tell you more. Being overshadowed by the massive amounts of production some people shill into their videos while providing minimal entertainment value and instead editing it in attention-keeping ways and engineering it to be all about spectacle, which leaves basically no content for in the independent sketch area, because the people who were making that either moved on to do bigger and better things like Jack and Dean, or they just couldn't sustain that, like Guaranteed Video or Tomska, so they had to move off the platform or they had to do something else. Tomska is more focused on everyday content now. In fact, on Tomska and Friends, he does a lot of challenges, which I'm not complaining about. He keeps the kind of charm, and it's pretty great. I recommend watch content. If you haven't, watch content. It's a series on Tomska and Friends. Go do that after this. I'm not done talking. This overshadowing is clearly seen in the subscriber disparity between these channels and other channels that capitalize on the production-hungry audience. Let's take those channels I just mentioned and add up their accumulated subscribers. So that's Wizards with Guns, Man Carrying Thing, JC Foster, Brian David Gilbert, Joel Haver, Sadworld, and Value Select. All together, that comes out to roughly at the time of writing, 3.8 million subscribers. And let's just ignore the fact that half of those are probably overlapping subscribers that are subscribed to all of the channels because, you know, niches and they gather the same audience and whatever, right? And then let's compare that to some channels that rely pretty heavily on production and not much else. It only barely passes Matthew Beam. And I'm pissed about that. Matthew Beam is someone who basically is the epitome of the production equals success correlation that people came to earlier. I think a large portion of why production is beginning to equal success on YouTube is because it's flashier and kids click on it more. That's why. I totally think that's why. I really hope that isn't like just the most popular style of video with like people like me. I hope I'm not just the odd one out that doesn't really like that style of video, because I find it kind of unbearable. Once again, I have nothing against Jimmy Beast, Mr. Jim, but I cannot watch his videos. It's too chaotic, and by extension, I can't watch Matthew Beam because it's too childish. It feels like it's just shoving everything in my face all at once. There's no subtext. It's the reason that a lot of newer movies are falling flat. Stuff like that. If that subscriber disparity thing that I just mentioned doesn't prove my point that they're being overshadowed despite their richer concepts and more thought out jokes and clever narratives, because the latter has faster editing and can just buy islands for videos, I don't know what will. I don't know what does. In fact, Pinely covers this kind of thing in his Mr. Beastification of YouTube video. You should go watch it, and also the rest of his content. He makes great videos, but so do I, so stick around. But back to the topic at hand. That huge amount of disparity between those types of videos makes me very sad. Like, it feels depressing that we as a society almost seem to value spectacle more than creativity, to the point that someone buying an island to hide treasure on it and go search for the treasure that they hid on that island gets so much more clicks than an original sketch written by people who thought about what they were making and didn't just go, this will make a lot of money. They wanted to make something that they loved making, right? And that makes me sad. The feeling of those overproduced, flashily edited videos feels like it's more for money and retention than audience entertainment and enjoyment of the creation. Honestly, being on the site almost feels like a minefield sometimes. Like if I click on one of those videos by accident, I almost feel tricked into giving them a view, which isn't how I want to feel when I'm trying to consume content for my enjoyment. All in all, I believe the independent creation of content has lost its way in recent years. I feel like it was always more about the joy and beauty of creating for the sake of entertainment and creation itself. But in recent years, I feel like we've focused too much on the production of it all, that we've lost the original charm and allure that early YouTube had on all of its audiences. I think the lack of production in those earlier sketches and animations and just everything added something beautiful to them. Like my friend down the street could have made this and was showing me something he made that he was proud of and thought was cool, which is a beautiful thing. It makes you feel like you're part of it in a way, and that it's beautiful. It imbued me with a feeling of wonder that something so entertaining could have been made by anyone as long as they had a camera and an idea. I've definitely carried that with me throughout my life and now into the things that I create on my channels. Whenever I make something, I really only make stuff that I would watch and enjoy, and so I think others will enjoy it too. I want to someday make something that gives someone the same feeling that Meanwhile or Eat Randy gave me. Not to mention, I've had so much fun creating everything I've made so far, and I look forward to making more. And I think that's the beauty that creation brings when lived to its fullest. And I believe these simple conceptual videos harnessed that more than any other form of media or creative expression ever could. I don't think I've felt that same rush of emotion that when I first watched Needles by Tomska or Car Phone by Julian Smith in years. Save from Wizards with Guns. It feels like they keep that feeling alive for me, honestly. And not to mention the rest of modern creators I've mentioned throughout this essay, whom I will show on screen now in a list over here. They're going up like this. You should go watch them. They're all good. I'll wait. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this was articulated well. I feel very passionately about this topic, so I wanted to make a video essay, but I'm really not good at making essays. It was not my strong point in school. I don't know if you can tell that it's not. I had to like break out of what I wrote down to elaborate to the camera many times during this. And yes, if you were curious, I did have fun making this. Have a good day or night, and thanks for watching.